Warp Core Breach, episode 45. I choose you?
Captain, enemy ships decloaking off our port bow.
They're charging weapons.
Shields up. Red alert.
They're firing!
Containment failure detected. Warp core breach imminent.
Welcome to Warp Core Breach. On this episode, Nick and David continue their journey towards madness. Griffin conducts an advanced assault. Section 31 makes their triumphant return. We all share our thoughts on unique ships we'd like to see in the game. And then we share our top captains of skill 4 or lower.
Warning. Warp core breach detected.
I'm David Montgomery, and here's my co-host, the Mystic to my Valor.
Gotta catch 'em all.
Yeah, you just had to go and be the enemy, didn't you?
Hey, in my geographic region, Mystic is pretty dominant here, and I went more for compatibility, being a greenhorn, so... And they didn't have a green-colored team, so...
I know, what's with that? Where's green in all of this?
Well, that's the alliance between the Mystic and the Instinct. Green and yellow make green, right? When it comes to, like, the pigment. Then with the light, you got the red, green, blue.
Okay, so where's orange?
Yellow and red.
I know. I want Team Orange. I want Team Purple. I want like 6
You mash
teams.
them all together, you get Team Brown.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Nobody.
18's Cartoon Weekend. 80's Cartoon Weekend. Not 18's. What decade is that?
Yeah, it's like, are you talking about cartoons for adults? Because that's a thing.
There's some fine cartoons for adults. Like, a lot of the kid cartoons these days don't appeal to me. They're just like, ugh. Like, Saturday morning cartoons pretty much doesn't exist here anymore. I don't know if it's the same there in the States, but they officially shut it down.
Yeah, I think everything's moved to, like, Saturday nights, because, well, kids don't wake up on Saturday mornings.
Unless they got a polka date.
Yeah, I guess.
Or an attack wing tournament.
Yeah, that's a thing, too. But,
Yeah, I hear that Star Trek Attack Wing's actually a lot of fun. We should try it sometime.
Maybe we should actually focus on that today, but...
Good call. Good call.
There hasn't been too much Attack Wing in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, really?
Well, I've got a tournament on Saturday, which is tomorrow for people listening to this the day it comes out. Yeah, that's going to be Corbomite Maneuver. But,
nice. Ours is coming up this Wednesday, so it'll be a couple days before this comes out.
Cool. Yeah, I built my fleet like last week because I'm going, I just want to actually have one built early for once. Normally I've been building like 1 or 2 days beforehand, and I'm like, I don't really care. And I still don't like really care, but with 160 points, like my venue's running, I need more time to kind of mull over all the choices I have and try to make a cohesive fleet. And it's like,
yeah, fleshing out all your options.
Yeah, I have too many options. I'm like, what do I do here? And it's kind of cool. I get to run officer cards because we've unretired everything, and I'm like, that's what I'm doing this time. It's like, I'm bringing back officer cards.
Blast from the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, today I didn't make it out there, but a 45-minute drive to Langley at a store called Game Stars. And this is a store worth traveling to Langley from anywhere in North America to see. It'll blow your mind. But I'll touch more on that in a bit. But they're doing Tin Man there, and it's 90 points, no boosters, just 90. And it's like, whoa, what? And it's locked to TNG and TNG movie era.
Ooh.
So I'm just like scratching my brain. It's like, wow. Because as far as named ships, that only really allows you the Vorcha and what, the Tong?
The Defiant.
For Klingon, I'm saying.
Oh, for Klingon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the Rataran. Oh no, that's DS9.
Yeah, almost everything Klingon in that general area is DS9. Because they haven't really released a lot of the TNG ships for WizKids.
The Baruch?
That's true, the Baruch is in TNG.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, so there's 3.
It's not
generics.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, how would you fit in the Karaga? Was that a DS9 one?
I believe it was.
Okay. I'm not 100% sure on the timing there, but...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as far as the Dominion, all you have is the Galler class.
The Reklar would have to be...
The Reklar was, what, Osset or Musset? Gul Musset?
One of the two. But,
something like that, yeah.
I mean, that's gotta be TNG, because all the cards there were TNGs.
Right. From the chase and such.
Yeah, but that's not terrible.
No.
You'd get a lot of the Cardassian captains. I mean, obviously you lose to Kot.
Only the ships were locked, by the way.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Well.
Just would have been an interesting challenge for me to come up with a cool build, but I just couldn't make it.
Yeah. I foresee scimitars winning that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a TNG movie. That's your problem.
Yeah.
It's like...
Uber. Well, and Borg, because pretty much everything except for the tactical cube, because I think the tactical cube only showed up in Voyager.
Diamonds, too.
Oh, and the octahedron, right. So you've got the spheres, you've got the big cubes, you've got the scouts, and the Soong, of course. So most of the Borg stuff would be available for that.
Yeah.
I'm usually, like you've heard me say many times before, I'm not big on the whole playing purity as a rule, but I absolutely love the variations for once in a while, and I find the era pure concepts are the most challenging and most interesting for me to play.
Oh, yeah.
With the classic movies OPs, we locked it to anything up to and including the TOS movies.
Okay.
So, yeah, like you could play older stuff, but like you couldn't play people that were alive too far before or too far ahead. We figured Vulcans and Romulans would be long-lived enough, they'd be flexible. So, like, Enterprise-era Vulcans and Romulans could still feasibly be alive in TOS.
Okay.
And ones that, things like that. So we permitted that. And, like, we knew Tuvok was around then, being on Excelsior and whatnot, so he was allowed.
But you couldn't bring in Archer.
Right, he was too old. Although, from the point of view of the Kelvin-verse, Archer is still alive.
Right, Admiral, yeah.
Yeah, so it's arguable at that point, but we didn't quite go that far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we wanted to make it simple enough for new people and whatnot to figure it out without having to have an eidetic memory of every episode and movie ever to know, oh, but this character was here then, kind of thing.
Or a list.
Yeah, exactly.
And those are fun. I applaud the Bay Area group. They have theme competitions, and one of the ones they did for Voyage Home was a time travel theme. So you could only use ships that had traveled in time. Not
cool.
necessarily the name ship, but the class. So that was limited to Constitution class, Galaxy, Burrells because of the bounty, and several others. But it made for a really cool theme idea, and there's a ton you can do with that when you start thinking about how many different classes of ships have traveled in time.
And I guess the Kiana Prime wouldn't really count because it went through at 1 second per second. It never went back or forth. It affected time, but it itself didn't travel in time.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know. I mean, it is a time ship. I might grant that an exception.
Yeah, I would debate that one from like a nerd nitpick point of view. From the game, I'd be open to the possibility because it's about fun.
Yeah.
Right?
But you get Voyager. I mean, that's an interesting one. So
I would love, after Klingon Civil War, whether it's the one after or the one after that, to have like another temporal one. Because Temporal Cold War wasn't really about time travel. It didn't really have that sort of feel to it as much.
Right.
As far as like the ships. Like I'm talking about like prize ships or retail or whatever. Because I'd like to see the time ship Eon and the relativity and stuff like that. Like the Eon's basically like a shuttle. The relativity's the bigger time ship.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see kind of like themed clusters for say each quarter of the year, WizKids would focus on a theme.
I'd love to get a new Krenim time ship that actually uses time tokens.
Mm-hmm. That would have been brilliant. Even if it if say it's Chronoton torpedoes or similar weapon or whatever would have time tokens on it instead of disable concept, and then it would have a tech and other things that would help you play around with time tokens, both giving and taking.
That would be a ton of fun.
Yeah, or moving time tokens around. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, was it Arsenal that you can put one time token on it?
Yes.
Yeah, so like if something is given 2 time tokens, you move one over, they both expire at the end of that round, instead of 2 being on it and it takes till the following round to clear. So a mechanic that allows you to kind of move them around a little bit would help you spread it. Okay, that was a little random. Feel free to chop that up how you please.
Yeah, I get the feeling of what you were saying. Maybe it wasn't the most concise way to say it, but it's a time ship. It should mess with time tokens.
Yes, it's not necessarily one that traveled in, but it has an impact on time. It can affect time. Yeah, like the Temporal Vortex and other similar cards, it should have stuff like that. Like if the Kiana Prime had a combat reboot thing, or does it? I so seldom use the upgrades from that ship.
Yeah, outside of Chronoton torpedoes, it's like...
Yeah, I played with some of them once, just for fun, and how, like, the ones that, like, mess around with upgrades, and they were kind of neat.
Yeah, it's a very interesting mission thing, and it's not very good and competitive. So, yeah. And you wouldn't have to redo the whole retail pack. You just add in cards in a prize pack, and there's stuff there, so...
Yeah, I can't see WizKids seeing it justifiable to release another unique version of that ship, however.
No.
Just simply because there only ever was one on screen. But, as, like, if they ever get into booster packs, like in Dice Masters, they got the Doctor Strange, which is just set cards and whatnot. It's not like an actual set or anything. If they did something along those lines, it'd be great, because then they can use that to fill in gaps or things like, we have a really cool idea now that we wish we had put into a pack from, like, say, a year ago or whenever. It'd be a great opportunity to do that.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, tons of options there.
Mm-hmm. Give time token torpedoes to Borg or something, you know?
Yeah, which just makes tons of sense because the Borg are very efficient with everything they do.
Absolutely. Like, I would be really keen on another Borg ship or weapons or whatever where it's lower power, like it's not the 6 and above kind of thing. It might only be like 4, but it would either allow multiple attacks of like 3 or 4, or have some other efficiency thing thrown in to make it more interesting. Whether like having built-in conversion, rerolls, or maybe a limiter that's like, okay, if you attack, your opponent can only roll max this many defense dice or something like that. It's like, I'm not going to roll a lot, but you can't roll a lot either, as kind of like a good balancer. So, because you know how you have builds where somebody's rolling like 20 dice for attack or 15 or 20 for defense or something because they just ubered the heck out of it. So... yeah. It just gets kind of crazy after a while. But if you have something that doesn't completely nullify it, like magnetometric charges or whatnot, then you can just kind of simplify it briefly. And that'd be something good for things like scout cubes. We're not uber powerful. We're not going to destroy your capital ship with one shot or anything. But we're going to almost guarantee to at least scratch you. We'll whittle you down slowly.
Mm-hmm. Throwing out a random idea, something like for every 2 hits, you get 1 defense die, or every 3 hits, you get 2 defense dice, something like that. So you're almost changing their defense stat. You ignore what they have, and then you tell them how many dice to roll. I don't know. That's a very rough idea.
I would almost do it the other way around, like 1.5 or something. Like for one attack, you roll 1 defense. For 2 attack, you roll 3, and so on. Because defense is a much lower probability of rolling evades than an attack dice rolling of hits or crits, right? So
my notion would be scratch them and guarantee that you can hit something, but giving them dice after you modify your dice in some way. Maybe it needs some kind of a conversion as well.
Here's something. When someone attacks, you get defense dice equal to however many hits and crits they've rolled plus your agility. So if your agility is a 1 or a 2 or a 3. And as far as I know, only Sulu and flagships have boosted agility. Am I right?
Yes. I mean, Tom Paris, Riker, they basically do the same thing.
Well, they're adding defense dice. They're not adjusting agility.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is like you would push aside anything that adds defense dice. You'd only get equal to hits and crit results plus your agility.
Okay.
Yeah. So it would obviously wouldn't be an official rule or anything because it would change everything so much, but it'd be a neat kind of alternate play style for an event or whatever. Try it out, see how it works.
Yeah, I could see that. These are different ideas that could grant it's the Borg adapting.
Yeah, and I wasn't even thinking of it as Borg. I was thinking that concept could apply to everything.
Oh, sure.
For that event. Like a new concept in attack and defense.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that could be a neat scenario, too.
Like the pulse cannons or whatever from the Defiant, they're firing a whole bunch of little blasts at you, and you pretty much have to avoid them all. Granted, they're mostly in a straight line, but if both of you are moving, it's kind of laying down some fire. So if you're both moving and you got to avoid all of them, some may hit, some not, and that's where the whole defense die for each hit or crit kind of comes into place. And if you're a particularly agile ship, like the Flea, and you've got 3 agility, you can add 3 more, so you got a little bit better chance of avoiding it. Because for the most part, unless a ship is of sufficiently more advanced technology that your attack would never even scratch their shields, you should take a little bit of damage every time someone shoots at you, even if it's only 1 hit.
You would think.
Yeah. Like, granted, if you've got good shields and you're able to keep, pumping energy into them, you can keep them up. Like, if they only destroy 1 shield every turn and you're able to push enough power to build it back up to 100% and restore 2 shields around or whatever, then granted, they're never going to blow you up. But then multiple ships attacking you could eventually wear you out. But that kind of game style or gameplay is better for campaign, not the 45-minute, 60-minute OP format. Because then it's just like, okay, well, nobody hurt anybody and we're just sitting there taking pot shots. So that's where I appreciate the format as it is for OPs, because you've got to be able to blow ships up, otherwise it's no fun.
Yeah.
That, or we need better win conditions and scenario options for the OP scenarios themselves.
Yeah. And
we've certainly had some interesting options come up, so gotta definitely give WizKids props for that, because they're going back and forth and coming up with some interesting ones.
They are certainly trying. That is the good news.
Yes.
The unfortunate side is sometimes their tries aren't very good, so they end up trying our patience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then they turn out some gems, and it's like, oh, this is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird because what used to be the strength was the episodic.
Mm-hmm.
And now those have not been as good as the storyline ones.
Yeah. Well, I think the storyline ones are probably getting more time, more attention. And from someone like myself who used to do like the pencil and paper RPGs back in the day, I'm talking 80s for those of you listening. And like at that time, there was no internet. A company would release a campaign or something like every 6 months or year. So they would have a lot of time to plan, play test, adjust, adapt, and everything to come up with these things. And, you know, there was usually anywhere from 4 to a dozen people at the company working on this sort of thing. And until they got more popular later, and they'd have maybe a couple dozen people, and they were cranking things out more often. But most people don't realize that WizKids is not a huge company. It's not like they have hundreds of employees or anything. Like they're what, under 20 for their main group, or?
Yes, absolutely under 20.
Yeah, so you got to figure these guys are cranking out usually around 10 or 11 OPs a year. On top of that, they're coming out with what used to be dozens of unique ships and cards per year. It's now scaled back a bit, which is a bummer, but also hopefully better for quality. So that includes for testing and everything else. Considering the amount of volume they put out, they're doing a fine job. And this isn't their only game. Like I said, it's like they're cranking out 10 to 12 missions just for Star Trek Attack Wing alone in a 12-month period with everything else they're doing. So given what's on their plate, they've done a fine job. Like there's like how much do you expect out of them creativity-wise? One, it's just go, 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 go every workday out of the year. That's a lot to accomplish.
Oh, it is, certainly. I think where a lot of us in the community kind of get on them is it's like, hey, you have resources. Talk to the people in the community, not necessarily the community as a whole, but there are people who design scenarios and design custom missions, and they would love to come on and help, and they don't really need anything as compensation for their time other than credit for designing it.
Yeah, I actually had some limited communication through their Facebook page, and their official word is much like others, and understandably so, is they do not accept ideas or suggestions of any kind without solicitation due to legalese, liability, and all that sort of thing.
Right. And so that's where the thing is, they can reach out and grab some of these people who have built great scenarios, not use those scenarios they've already built, but build other scenarios because they have the talent for incorporating the theme of Star Trek with the constraints of Star Trek Attack Wing to make something that's immensely fun on the tabletop.
Right.
And when you can do that well, everybody wins. And that eases the burden on whoever's in charge of coming up with these scenarios. It's a tricky situation, but it's one of those positions where we'd rather have it done right than done by the person who's been doing it if they don't put their full effort into it.
Yeah.
Personal pride needs to go away and get the job done, because I think a lot of people are kind of tired of scenarios that are only done half well.
Yeah, like if the maximum amount of fleet points you can get is, say, 15, like 5 plus 10 or something like that, what's the point of even trying to do anything related to the scenario?
Yeah, you're not going to.
No, you're going to avoid the consequences of it as much as possible, and then just joust.
Yeah, I've had one OP game in my last 15 that have been decided by that few points. And they just don't happen. Most of these games are decided by 30 plus points, 40 plus. sometimes 60 plus.
Oh, easy.
You need big changes to make them a threat. Even if something's 40 points, that's enough of a threat that you have to plan for it.
That's exactly it. It's got to be worth at least a booster or at least an average ship value to be worth going for.
Right. If we're now at 130 with a 3-ship min, then the average ship cost is 43 points.
Yeah.
Okay, so make your scenarios worth 40 or 45 points.
Perfect, yeah. That, to me, would be worth pursuing. Because a lot of the games, it takes you minimum of 2... Well, it takes the average about 3 turns. So about 2 to 4 turns to meet the requirements of the scenario to gain the points. And that is about the same average for how many rounds it takes to destroy an average ship without major shenanigans or major challenge. 2 to 4 rounds, and you can take a ship out.
Yeah.
So that time that you spend on the scenario should be an equal, if not greater, challenge or greater reward. So that tells me that if you're doing it only at a 1/3 of that reward, like 15 points, then it's an absolute waste of time. If it's around 40, 45, then it's a balanced expenditure of time. If it was higher, like 50, 60, or something like that, then it's like, oh crap, I'm going for this mission.
Or I need to figure out a way to make it so my opponent can't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Precisely.
Either denial or I'm going to do it, which is a different form of denial.
Mm-hmm. Like, what's a better ship for a mission attempting scenario? Like a Shield Equinox kind of build, so you're regenerating, you can take a lot of pounding while you're doing the mission.
Right, but maybe you need your action to interact with the scenario, and so you don't have the action to keep re-enabling your shields, and maybe
Martok on another ship to give an action, or Will Riker, or some other thing. There's ways to do it, but you've also got to do it so that it's not limited to Federation or Klingons to be able to pull something like that off.
Right, and so maybe there's a rule in the scenario where there's no free actions allowed.
Ooh. But the problem with that is it only hurts people trying to do the mission. It doesn't hurt the people going for jousting, which goes against our whole point.
Well, but if the mission's worth 60 points, you're going to figure out a way to do the mission.
Yeah, but even then, if you're going to make it that challenging to do it, like if you're making it much harder, people may still default to the attacking, or they'll wait and watch for a player that does try the scenario, and then they'll just bear down on them with attacks and say, okay, you're going to waste your stuff doing the scenario, I'm going to kill you. There's got to be at least somewhat of a balance, and that's a tough thing to develop.
Well, and that's where you run into a challenge, because if you have a scenario that almost forces you into a certain build type, or says, hey, this one card or these 2 cards are almost mandatory, you run into problems, because you don't want everyone running the same type of fleet.
No.
And that's where I have problems, because I don't want everyone running Martok 8 at the tournament. I mean, there's ways around it. You can bring in jammed communications, and that will mess with things.
Yeah.
And if people really think you're going to bring in jammed communications, then they have a choice to make.
Avoid cards that would be useless in that situation, or bring stuff that would negate or nuke that.
Right. So
do I go passive or do I go aggressive?
it's a tricky balance, but there are so many things that can be done to really change up the way scenarios are run.
Yeah.
And I think what we've seen is scenarios have become very much done one way.
Yeah. One trick pony.
Yeah. There's a little bit of scenario stuff mixed in, but essentially it's, hey, here's a wide open board. You get to set up and go. And I'm tired of that. I'm tired of, hey, set up anywhere within range 1 of the edge. Even if you tell me, hey, you can only set up on 1/2 of the board or 2/3 of the board, that changes things.
Mm-hmm.
Or how about you have to set up within a range 2x2 box in one corner, and your opponent does the same in the diagonal opposite corner.
Or you can set up anywhere in range, within range 1 or 2 of the edge around all 4 sides, but you must always be at least, say, range 2 or something away from any other any other ship. So you have to break yours up and be broken up from them. So you could be close to the enemy, but all your ships are in different positions.
That could be very interesting. There's so much that can be done with starting setup that changes the dynamic of the game.
Here's an idea. A 4-ship build, or 2-ship, depending on how many points they're going to give you, where you put 2 of your ships on one side, 2 of your ships on the other, and then your opponent gets the other 2 opposing sides. So let's say you get north and south, and they get east and west, right? So if it's a 2-ship build, it'd be 1 on either side, or a 4-ship, 2 on either.
Okay.
Yeah, or another scenario where reinforcements come in. So 3-ship build, you have to hold 1 ship back, or you start with you either lead with your biggest ship or you reinforce with your biggest ship. And maybe you get to choose, I don't know. So after 3 rounds or something, your remaining ships join the fray. There's all sorts of varieties and ways to do that.
Yeah, there really is. And it makes me go back to even QOP2, I think it was, where your largest whole ship had Q on it, and that reduced the primary weapon. And yeah, it was annoying, but it made you build differently. Mm-hmm. And there were things you did. Like, did you bring in the Regent's flagship so it could do 360 shots at a set dice amount?
Yeah.
Or did you bring in a ship and use a secondary weapon? Like, all those things mattered. And they made you consider doing things differently. And
yes,
there could be different rules for high point valued ships and all these things. The possibilities to shake things up are immense. And yes, so much of this can be done on the local level, but it shouldn't have to be.
Yeah, it shouldn't be all up to the TOs to invent this. Having OPs that intentionally force you to think differently, to build differently, because of the scenario, whether it's an out-and-out rule, you can't use these type of cards, or you must use these type of cards, or whatever, or simply designing a scenario that you would logically come up with the desire for these cards anyway. That's what we need. We need to stimulate variety so that you don't have one player bringing the exact same build with minor modifications, week to week to week to week, month to month, Like, I know people in other areas that have brought the same build 6 out of 8 OPs in a row and won every time, or won 6 out of 8.
Yeah, that's just not fun. I couldn't do it. I and maybe that's a personal thing, but I couldn't. It's not in my makeup to... I'm going to play this because it wins. I have to try out different things. I need variety. If I'm in regionals, nationals, whatever, okay, then it's time to bring the thing that wins.
Right.
But if I'm in an OP, I'm playing because I'm trying to fit the theme. I'm trying to do something different. I'm trying to mess around. And look, if you're playing to win, that's fine. I'm not going to sit here and tell you you're a bad person or whatever. I'm saying that you shouldn't be bringing the same thing just because it wins. If you find comfort in flying the same thing because you know it well, that's great. But then I look at the people you're playing against, and I would challenge them that, okay, you guys know what he's going to bring. You have the counters to beat it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I find is a lot of the time, people aren't even trying to directly beat that build. They're just doing their own thing, and they keep going, oh, this beat me again. Oh, this beat me again. So, okay, well, look at that build, figure out what its weaknesses are, and then build to beat it.
Everything has a counter. There are counters, and there are ways to say, hey, I have to do it. It's maybe not perfect, but there are counters out there.
Yeah, remember when Fed Shuffle used to be a thing all the time?
Uh-huh.
You know, it still shows up once in a while, but it's not as common anymore.
And even when it shows up, you kind of go, oh, hey, that's cool. I remember that.
Yeah. I did that for the first time in ages last week on our casual night.
And you know what the thing is? It's still pretty good, but it doesn't always win.
No. And just getting back to the thematic builds, just for fun and to challenge ourselves, like I played the Enterprise and the Reliant for Wrath of Khan in the Mutar scenario. Not the mission, but the OP.
Okay.
Yeah, and I did quite well, actually. Like, I was cleaning up. So.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Reliant's the perfect ship for that. Range 1 only.
Range 1, double bonus.
Yeah, please and thank you.
Like, for our top 3 captains, 4 and under, the Romulan Tal, it's skill 4, he gets +1 at range 1. So he would further boost that. So in a mixed environment, you put him on the Reliant, he'd be a +3 in that situation.
Except he only works on Romulan ships.
Oh, shoot, that's right. Yeah, I didn't write that down on my notes, but that's true.
Yeah.
But you could have, like, a fleet. Like, you'd have, like, the Reliant, and then, like, either a scout ship or a bird of prey or something like that. Yeah, throw him on there. Or I guess Dideridex, considering it's an attack 3. So anything attack 2 or 3 would be similar.
Sure.
Yeah, so you could have a bunch of little ships with stuff like that, beefing them up a little bit. Yeah.
Dideridex little ship.
Yeah. Is it the Vorchov from the starter that says that at range 1, the other guy does not get an extra?
They get 1 less.
So it just negates the range bonus.
Yes. Which is quite handy.
Mm-hmm.
And quite annoying when you're using a secondary weapon on them.
Yeah. Because, it doesn't just negate what you would have added, it actually reduces you. Because you don't get the bonus.
Particularly useful with dorsal phaser array.
Or against magnetometric at range 1.
Yeah.
That's a good one to reduce.
A very good one.
Yeah. That's where I think is it Starter Wharf that can reduce attack dice by 1? Or is it the later one?
It's probably Starter Wharf, but it's not like he's very economical, so who would really remember?
True.
I sound terrible when I say stuff like that, but it's like it's true. It's really true. He's like 4 points in action, and maybe even a disable on top of that to make somebody roll 2 less attack dice.
The 3-cost Wharf action, target a ship at range 1, it rolls 2 less attack die this round.
1 point cheaper than I thought, but
yeah.
Still, just not. I guess if you know that they're shooting mag charges, it's worthwhile.
That's the one from the Defiant, by the way.
Okay.
That Fed Wharf.
The one that should have been a captain?
Yeah, at one point I was actually working on a build strictly about reducing attack dice. And it's kind of a neat idea against one ship, but you can't really throw it at all ships coming at you. Right. So if you can somehow devise it to work against, like, say, their biggest, scariest ship, like Borg or 8472 or anything that throws 5 or 6 dice, like Enterprise E's and that, then that's cool. And then if they have weaker ships, then you could let those guys attack you as normal.
Mm-hmm. The problem I've always had with reducing attack dice is that very quickly you realize that attack cancellation is far easier and more effective.
Oh, for sure. Like, I just did it because it was a different way to go about it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
just for fun and challenge. But yeah, it's not that practical in comparison. It's far easier to just nuke the attack.
Okay, the best ways to do attack dice mitigation are Bashir and Rebellion. And that's because Bashir forces targeting and Rebellion gives you an attack in addition. And so it's not just the pure dice reduction, it's the things that also give you something extra.
Yeah. Like, I like playing counterattack on a ship with free action or something like that, so I can do counterattack in addition to either battle stations or whatever else I'm doing. Right?
Yeah, because then you have some quality. Picard 9 on a ship with counterattack is actually great, because then you can get battle station or target lock, whichever your preference is there, and still counterattack, and then you're set up and you're good to go. Tim
Waters and William E. Riker.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Fun shenanigans with that, because you can keep your crew cycling. So throw on, what was it? Where's that wharf?
The Hathaway Wharf?
Yeah, Hathaway Wharf. He's a perfect one. If you happen to have the extra crew slot, because Waters adds one, you throw on the 7 of 9.
Oh yeah.
From, was it Delta Flyer?
Yep.
Yeah, so you can have disable crew with William E. Riker, who also adds a crew slot, and then you've got Waters, and you can cycle that, even on a ship that only has stock 2 crew slots. Right? And then you can throw these shenanigans in, like the counterattack or whatever.
It certainly works. Hey, you know what? This sounds like our perfect transition into our top 3 captains of skill 4 or less.
You caught it.
Alrighty. Why don't you kick it off with your number 3, Nick?
Well, there are so many choices, and it's hard to nail down which, but what I ended up going for my number 3 pick was the Bioship Omega Pilot.
Ooh,
1 cost, 2 skill. Action. Disable this card and 2 of your active shields to target a ship at range 1. Inflict 1 critical damage to the target ship's hull. May only be purchased for 8472 ships. So, hey, it's before an attack, it's a free crit to the hull. If you combine that with, was it attack pattern Omega or something, that you can throw a warp core breach on them?
Yeah.
Or if you put it on the bioship that has the converter crit thing, you've got options, you can play around. And who doesn't love being able to do extra damage? And it goes through their shields. You disable 2 of your shields. Disabling a low-skill pilot usually doesn't hurt you, because you're practically going first anyway, and last for attack. So it's a great secondary captain.
Yeah.
Oh, and imagine him combined in a fleet with an Admiral Decker. 2 damage straight to hull. Great way to finish off a ship.
Or how to kill a scout cube.
Yeah. Oh, basically, you have to pray that there's never a card that allows you to choose a direct hit.
There shouldn't be.
No. Absolutely. Because that would be game-breaking, I think, because there'd be too many ways to abuse that.
Yes. So my number 3 follows in very much the same vein. I went with Will Decker.
Ah.
So I should say before I get into why, I stayed away from any captains that also have an Admiral version.
Exactly. I did the same thing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So Will Decker, during the modify attack dice step, you can destroy one of your active shields to add a crit result to your roll.
Right. And that's something that happens before the defense dice are rolled.
Right.
And before they can modify your attack dice.
No, after they modify, because the inactive player modifies before the active. Yes.
Yeah, you can modify your dice, then they can modify...
No, they modify your dice, then you modify your dice. That's how the order always goes.
Okay. I thought it was always reactive rather than the other way around. Okay. So you can change it back. Huh.
Yes.
Believe it or not, I've never actually encountered the need to do that. Even though I was aware of the rule in the back of my mind.
There's not much.
Yeah. I'm not fighting over the conversion of someone's dice.
Realistically, what this helps you for is counting and looking at how many hits you're likely to get based on how many defense dice they're getting. Right. And you're going, okay, look, you're getting 3 defense dice. That means you're probably getting 1 evade, maybe 2. If I get that 1 extra crit, I'm for sure getting a crit into your hole, or if you roll poorly, maybe I kill you.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things.
This is a good captain if you're utilizing the Equinox ship ability, because you're going to get that shield back anyway.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you don't want to use the Equinox, TOS Scotty would work as well. That's higher action economy, but it's there. There are other shield repairs. Glendaro is the best of them, but that requires actions and cross-factioning and such.
The Dominion Crew Sescal is also a good one, so on the following turn, if your shields are now gone, you can get a bonus +2 attack dice in the next round.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah.
If you really want to go shenanigans, I like Decker with Meg charges.
Yes.
Because why not? Just all the crits.
Yeah.
And then you know that they're rolling no defense dice. So you know how much you're piling in. Yeah.
It's also good on any weapon that ignores shields, so even with their defense dice, you've still got a better chance than anything that hits is going to hit to their hull anyway.
Yes.
So either set.
So Decker, at skill 3, yeah, he's not going to impress anyone, but he is skill 3, not 2 or 1, so you got some leeway there.
Yeah, like if you've got a pretty solid build and you just honestly don't have the points to put like 8s and 9s on all your ships for captain skill, there are some really good low skill captains that are perfect for your second ringer, your second string ships, and that's partly why we're covering this topic.
Yeah. Don't
overlook the little guy.
So there you go. That's Decker skill 3, 2 points.
All right, my number 2. Donald Varley, because who doesn't love free actions? So the captain of the USS Yamato, which came in the new Galaxy class USS Venture pack, he is a 4-skill captain, 3 cost. Your ship may perform a scan action as a free action each round. So he's like half Captain Spock.
Yeah.
So let's say you've got Picard 9, you've got Captain Spock, and you got Donald Varley. You got free actions on 3 fed ships.
It works quite well.
No kidding. So it's pretty sweet.
It is.
No explanation necessary,
nope.
Really. There's no context we need to add.
I think we all understand the value of extra free actions, especially scan when you're up against cloaked mines. So, and Fed have the most things that utilize scan tokens. So, new Grand Prize, Enterprise A, Mr. Spock, list goes on.
There you go.
All right, my number 2, Gul Lamech.
Ah.
And this is one that some people have probably forgotten, but skill 4, 3 points, gives you a talent slot. Never overlook that. When attacking a ship whose captain has a lower skill number than Gul Lamech's, gain +1 attack die against that ship. Put an admiral on him.
Madrid, perhaps?
Exactly.
And I don't care what captain you have on your ship, you're going to be lower than Lamech once I'm through with you.
Although then you'd no longer have Madrid, but that's okay. You're still lower than Lamech.
Yeah.
And then it's just a +1 attack die that's sitting there. Just the whole time. You don't have to do anything. There's no aux power. There's no disable. There's no time tokens. Nothing.
Anytime you get a perk or a bonus without action economy expenditure, it's total gravy.
Yep. And that's what Lamech is.
Absolutely. Like, you've heard us complain before about spending actions and other costs related to gaining a single attack die. Honestly, anytime a card exists that gives you a +1 attack die once to one ship, it should not have a cost. The cost is the card itself. So, if you're going to pay a cost, it should be a +2 or a +3 or adding +1 to all ships in your fleet or something. Because otherwise, it's just not worth it. But something like Gulamek here, it's perfect. It's very well built. The fact that it has the captain skill limitation on it is a way to keep it from being too strong, right? Like, it's not like the Captain Riker that gives you the +1 attack, +1 defense, but even then, you've got to have a lesser hull than your target. So
Right.
Again, there's a condition, but it's a powerful concept. And to me, it's a very intelligently designed card. So, thumbs up.
They did that card right.
So in the Siskel and Ebert themed, we give it 2 crits up?
Yes. Pew pew, pew pew. All right, what's your number 1?
All right, my number 1 we've touched on briefly already. That would be Tim Waters. So he is 3 cost, 4 skill, and he does have a talent slot, which is fantastic for a low skill captain. It adds a crew slot to your upgrade bar, and for an action, you remove all disabled upgrade tokens from all of your crew upgrades on that ship, of course. So it's a great crew reset, giving you an extra crew. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, you combine that with William E. Riker, so William T. Riker from the Enterprise E. You gain 2 crew slots. You can use that Riker to trigger Tim Waters for free, and then cycle him, and then you can add on other crew that disable for abilities, like Worf, like 7 of 9, like anybody. And you can have a lot of fun. And Waters covers Riker's slot, or Riker covers himself, and you're still up 1. So even on a ship with only 1 or 2 crew slots, you've got a lot of flexibility. And hey, with that, with the Valiant pack, Red Squad, perfect talent to use. You get a place token, whether it's battle stations or whatever you want, for each Federation crew you have on that ship. So load up.
Yeah.
You're pretty much guaranteed to have a minimum of 3, if not 4 crew on that ship. So what's not to love?
Point costs.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about it.
Yeah. And then you start getting disgusting with non-retirement, and you add on the Klingon independent fleet captain. Discount to all crew and -1 to all your crew.
And the free talent.
Yep. Then it just gets gross.
Yeah.
Gee, no, I've never done that before. No.
No, who would have ever done that?
And that goes back to our earlier conversation where it's cool to come up with crazy stuff like that, but do I play it every week? Hell no. I played it a couple times at spaced out intervals in slightly different builds because it was fun and interesting, but I didn't overdo it.
Right.
Yeah.
Try stuff out every once in a while, see how it goes.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 1 is Old Reliable, and that is the Skill 4 Reroll Tactical Drone.
That was also on my longer list.
Pretty simple. You get 4 drone tokens, and when attacking, you can spend 1 to choose any number of your attack dice and reroll them.
So sweet.
Yep. Pretty simple. It's like a free action built in, except better because you can use it against Cloak.
Yes, and you don't have to target one ship ahead of time. Oh, I ended up going against this ship instead. You're not penalized. It's like, oh, doesn't matter. Whatever ship you attack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Excellent choice.
Yeah, you lose captain skill as you go, but you know what?
No biggie.
You're starting so low, it doesn't really matter. You're there to get the effect.
And for those of you listening, there are a number of tactical drones, even 2 with skill 4. So for this one, if you wanted to get this guy, he comes from the Borg Sphere 4270, which by chance just happens to be on the re-release list for the remainder of this year.
January 2017.
Oh, got pushed to January? Okay, so...
Yeah, wave 28.
In short order, within the next few waves, it will be re-released. So if it's not already on your shelf from the previous launch of it, you will get it again soon.
Yeah.
I believe that was, wave 8 when it first came out?
Wave 4.
Oh, wave 4, right. Because that was around Tholian Web, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what prompted a lot of us TOs to say, yeah, no, you're not allowed to fly the sphere on this OP because that's just too overpowered.
Although now, with the different Borg spin, you actually really have to plan it.
Yeah, the forced forward.
Uh-huh. Granted, Borg are still way too good in Tholian.
That's for sure.
I would like to fly the oversized Borg cube in Tholian just to try to make it out.
Fly to the center as quick as you can and put in like full stop and just try to avoid it.
Actually, that's where you need Deep Space Nine.
Yes, exactly. That's what I did with our replay of was it Riff 1? You know, where you have to stay inside of range 2 from the edges, otherwise you lose mission tokens and then the Borg come and kill everybody.
Yes.
Oh, just launch DS9 into the center and stay there.
Yep.
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.
So I should say, short list for captains for me, the feedback tactical drone, that's the 2-skill unique tactical drone, and Ronald Moore.
Oh, nice.
He combos very well with Hood Riker. Because then you get 2 extra defense dice.
Yeah, my honorable mentions was Tal, the 4-skill version that I mentioned earlier in the show.
Yeah.
+1 at range 1, Ronan ship only. And my other, of course, is good old faithful baddie Rudy Ransom. Evade beside your ship, you get +2 defense die. Pretty solid for a defending ship.
Works with that new intercepted messages resource.
Yeah.
And other things. But I remember running ransom data on some ship early on in the game.
Yeah. Just stack those defense dice and evades.
Yeah. Like, this seems fun.
Oh, and if you had the officer card that works like Janeway, allows you to double up, take an Ox.
Yeah, that would be better than data, because then you don't lose the attack dice.
Exactly. So much fun.
There you go. Those are our top Skill 4 and under captains. Now we're going to hear from contributors and get their thoughts. And then we're going to get contributor segments. Because that's still a thing. But honestly, we need more contributor segments. So please, if you have anything, let us know.
Yeah, so for those of you that have already done segments and maybe life got a little busy, please come on back. And if you're just a new or long-time listener, if you've got a cool idea, let us know. We can put you on the show.
Or even if you don't think it's cool, but you think it's an idea, let us know.
Yeah, anything that contributes to the game and the community, we're down for. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be something you spent 16 months working on. It could be something you just came up with 5 minutes ago. Share your thoughts with us. Contribute to the community. Feel welcomed.
All right. We'll be back at the end of the show with our thoughts on weird ships we want to see in the game. Wrong show.
Hey, it's our show. It's always the wrong show. That's what makes it so right.
Okay. Contributors!
Hello there, everybody. Necromanticer here, coming to talk about what I believe to be the top skill 4 or lower captain in the game. Now, when playing with a low skill captain, you run into one persistent issue, and that is target locks are difficult to use effectively. On one hand, you might move forward and not have any enemies in range 1 to 3 yet, so you can't perform a target lock. On the other, you could perform a target lock, and then the opposing ship with a higher captain skill can move out of your arc, and you would have effectively wasted your action economy for that turn. Or the third hand, which is arguably one of the biggest wastes, is that you perform a target lock on a ship that stays within your arc. However, the other ships in your fleet manage to destroy that ship before it becomes your specific ship's turn to fire upon it. Now, in order to fix this problem, I think you need a low-skill captain that provides you some sort of reroll. And the ideal captain for that, in my opinion, is going to be the Borg Tactical Drone. This gives you a reroll whenever you're attacking. It also has access to drone tokens for gimmick play, such as performing a Captain Disable with data or some other interesting setup. Finally, it is one of the few non-unique captains, meaning you can actually place this on multiple ships throughout your fleet in order to spread the love around. It works best if you can take a battle stations action in order to hit your perfect quality, but otherwise it's just a very versatile captain that solves the conundrum that low-skill captains run into for multiple ships in your fleet, rather than any one ship, like can be said of something like Kabok or Tomahawk.
Hey all, this is Hugo. My favorite captain of skill 4 or less has to be Ronald Moore. He's not only an excellent writer of shows such as Deep Space Nine and Battlestar Galactica, but also a great Star Trek Attack Wing captain. Now, at his worst, he's a captain that can give a hull 3 or less ship a free battle station action every other round, which is a pretty neat ability, especially when you put him on things such as Romulan ships or Klingon ships. But at his best, he can really synergize well with William Riker. William Riker, of course, adds an extra defense die to ships, and if the captain's disabled, he adds 2 defense die and converts 2 battle stations to 2 evade die. Well, pair him with Ronald Moore, and what you're getting every turn on a hull 3 or less ship is 2 extra die for defense that convert, and a battle station token that you can now use for offense. In fact, one of my favorite combos in the game is to put Ronald Moore and William Riker on the Hirogen ship, so then you're getting free sensor echoes, free battle stations, a good amount of defense die, free conversions, and some pretty good offensive output. And that's why Ronald Moore is my favorite captain of skill 4 or less.
Hello, this is Steven Stott with Ready to Play Gaming down in Columbia, South Carolina. Well, obviously for me, I'm going to name a captain that I play, and the skill level below captain that I actually play and do well when I play using this captain is Rudolph Ransom, Federation captain. He is a 2 SP point captain, and of course his ability is when defending, if there's an evasive token beside your ship, roll +2 defense die. He works well with ships that I either have to add on, evades because they're not very maneuverable, or if I just want a super evasive ship that just makes it hard to hit, like I love to run the NX. Ransom's a cool person to put on there because if I play an evade, that adds 2. I'm rolling 5 evade dice on that ship, which increases the opportunity for it to not get hit, particularly since it only has 3 hull, no shields. So Rudolph Ransom is my guy for a skill level 4 and below captain that I like to run. This is Steven Stott with Ready to Play Gaming, hoping all your dice rolls are hits and evades.
This is Big John with the Klingon boarding party coming out of Da Vinci DreamWorks 2 in South Florida. And for my favorite skill 4 captain, I'm going to have to deviate from the norm and not pick a Klingon captain. There's so many really good Federation skill 4 captains, but I'm also going to not pick one of those. I'm going to go with Mirok because of his ability to regenerate a shield or a hull, and it's not an action. Thank you, and Kapla.
Hi, this is Dave Griffin. Today we're talking about our favorite captain of skill 4 and less. That's tough because it eliminates virtually every captain I play as a Federation player. I think the only captain that I play a lot that has a skill 4 or less is Maxwell Forrest. Now, he's an admiral, but when you flip him over to his captain side, he's skill 4. And he has a useful talent that can save your life. It's not a super showy talent. It doesn't do a lot of damage. It's not like Picard 9 that gives you another action, but it gives you maneuverability that your ship might sorely need, especially if it's something like a Galaxy-class starship. So that's what I would pick, Maxwell Forrest. Thanks, and I'll see you next week.
What does Section 31 do? Apart from kidnapping Starfleet officers. We search out and identify potential dangers to the Federation. And once identified, we deal with them.
Hello again, Admirals, and welcome once more to the Section 31 Intelligence Briefing. This time around, I'd like to talk about a lesson that we can all draw from the U.S. Nationals, namely the importance of always carrying with you some sort of attack mitigation ability to deal with either powerful strikes or just pure bad luck in your defense rolling. Namely, if you look at all 4 of the top builds from U.S. Nationals, we'll see that each one of them has some form of mitigating powerful attack or a bad defensive roll or an alpha strike through various methods, and I think each one of these is pretty viable for most builds, so we can all take something from these and hopefully incorporate them into our builds. First off, if we look at Joseph's build, we'll see that he has Julian Bashir, which is a great form of reducing the strength of attacks and sometimes outright canceling them. He draws all attacks to himself and reduces them by 2 dice, and if your opponent can't actually hit him, he still loses the attack, so that's pretty strong. He also brought Projected Stasis Field, which of course is a classic way of just completely canceling an opponent's attack. Next up, Lon's build had an all-time favorite of mine, Interface Generators. His ships just carried them on, and that's just a pretty simple, classic, cheap way to make sure that a big strike or just some awful cloaked dice rolling doesn't kill your ship. Pretty much, if you're carrying any type of ship with cloak, I don't see a reason not to carry Interface Generators, assuming you have the tech slot. Next up is Jordan's build, which has 2 different takes on this, but these are takes that I think we'll start to see more of again. Namely, he has talents that cancel attacks. Ibix Dynasty is one we don't see too often, but when you think about it, with Sakona, who reduces the cost of weapons, it makes it pretty affordable to just throw away a weapon to use it and trigger that cancellation. We also see the classic use of Conditional Surrender on another of his ships. This is a card that used to be very prevalent in the meta. It hasn't seen a lot of play recently due to its nerf, but if you think about it, it's still a pretty powerful card to just be able to cancel an attack at the cost of usually just 1 crew if you build it right. Next is Peter's build, where we see that he had the warp jump ability on Quark. You may not think of a maneuvering ability as attack mitigation, but since it triggers at the start of the combat phase, if you find yourself in a rough spot, that's a great way to get out of trouble, and it sets you up really well for the next round. Oftentimes you can place yourself in their rear and just come in and force them to come about or do a long, slow turn before they get a shot on you. Peter also takes Projected Stasis Field, which I think I said in my last episode is probably one of the best cards in the game, and I'm not surprised to see it repeated here at the Nationals. So, looking at these 4 builds, we see that all of them had some form of controlling against really powerful strikes or really bad luck on their part. I think as the game moves forward, we're going to see this becoming a staple of top-tier builds, an ability or a means of stopping or mitigating really powerful attacks from your opponents. With the game currently in a state where it's very easy to get up to 9, 10, 11, even more attack dice, not only in a single alpha strike, but sometimes repeatedly, it's, player beware if you don't come prepared to deal with those big strikes. So until next time, this is Hugo.
Hello, I'm Dave Griffin, and today we're talking about the Advanced Assault Mission. It came with the Romulan Scorpion fighters, and it really doesn't replicate anything as far as I can tell. It's a purpose-built scenario for them. On the Romulan side, we have 120 SP, including 1 Scorpion fighter squadron and at least 1 more Romulan ship, starting on the south edge. And on the Dominion side, we have 180 SP with at least 3 Jemadar attack ships, starting at the north edge, within 18 inches of that edge. So you basically have the top half of the board. There's a planet centered in the Dominion setup area. So it's 4 inches from the edge of the board, and there are 4 mission tokens on the side of the board. Now the special rules are, the Romulans have a new action when they're within range 1 of the planet. They can either remove their cloak if they're cloaked, or lower their shields if they're shielded, and place a mission token on the planet. Even the Romulan fighter squadron can do this, but it has to surrender 1 of its tokens, and if that's the last token, then the fighter squadron is destroyed. Now, you can't do the action if you overlap the planet, so if you go too far and bump the planet, you don't get your action. The objectives on the Romulan side is to get 4 tokens on the planet. Now, if they get 2 to 3 mission tokens on the planet, then they get a marginal victory. If they get 4, they get a complete victory. On the Dominion side, if they get 1 or less on the planet, they get a marginal victory. If they get no mission tokens on the planet, they get a complete victory. So basically the Romulans are desperately trying to get to the planet to lay down troops on the planet, but they don't get any points for destroying the Dominion ships. So there's really no need for them to even fire except to remove a Dominion ship that might otherwise fire at them. So the obvious way of attacking is to use the maximum number of Romulan ships. Way I tried it at first is to use every low-cost Romulan ship I could without any upgrades or captains. I ended up with 7 of them, and when I did that, the Dominion, despite being a fairly optimized Dominion fleet, weren't able to stop them before they got 4 tokens on the planet. Now, there's some alternate strategies that are pretty close to this, like take 1 fewer ship and take a couple of interface generators for the low-end Romulan ships that cloak, or maybe even a cloaked mine. Probably that would work too. So the problem is that using that strategy, it's somewhat organized against the Dominion. I would say that if you reduce the points of the Romulans to 90, so it's 90-180, then they're going to have 5 ships, and it's going to be harder for them to get 4 tokens on the planet. Frankly, I think they may still get 2 tokens on the planet, but it'll probably be even money whether they do. Now, if you don't take the maximum number of ship offense, if you just build 2 or 3 Romulan ships, then probably the original mission would work too. So it's an interesting little mission, not one of the crazier ones, and you get to use the fighter squadron, and the fighter squadron is actually good in this mission because no matter the fact that it starts with 4 dice instead of 6, it's hard to destroy. They have to shoot at it a lot to destroy it, and if they do that, then they won't be shooting at all your other ships. So, by all means, have some fun with this scenario. I can't rate it higher than about 2.5 stars because I just think that it's too easy to win on the side of the Romulans. Have fun if you do play it, and let me know how it goes. I'll see you next week.
Hello, players. Got a would-be nice today. It's a ship we saw a bit of, and I expect it'll show up one day. But we're going to give it our own shot and add some cards that could have shown up on prior ships, but didn't. Movie time. Get out your popcorn and soda as we build the USS Grissom. Grissom is an Oberth-class starship, so 2-3-3-2 stats, 20 points, just a front 90, evade target lock scan. Text: when placing a scan token beside this ship, you may place an additional scan token. If you do so, also place an auxiliary power token beside your ship. 2 crew and 2 tech, generic drops a shield and a tech. Captain JT Esteban is just skill 3 for 2 points, but he's fed unique, and when you're defending, you may convert any number of scan tokens beside your ship into evade tokens. If you do so, place an Ox beside your ship. You may field the Science Mission Elite talent. That Elite talent is 3 points, dual faction, fed, independent, unique. Giving Cindy some love. You may assign the away team upgrade to the ship at -1 SP even if it exceeds your ship's restrictions. Action: disable this card to place a scan and evade token on this card. You may remove 1 token from this card and place it beside your ship as a free action during any round, including this one, even if this card is disabled. So, you can re-enable this card and use the action again to put more tokens on it for future rounds. Crew time. Savick. 3 points, fed unique. Each time you defend, you may reroll 1 battle station's result. Every time a crew upgrade assigned to the ship is discarded, increase your ship's agility by 1. David Marcus. You may discard this card to prevent another crew upgrade from being discarded. If this card is discarded for any reason, all attacks made by your primary weapon this round are at +1. All attacks made by secondary weapons this round are +2. Faction penalty is doubled if assigned to a Federation ship. Carol Marcus. 4 points into unique. Add 1 tech slot to your ship's upgrade bar. Each tech upgrade assigned to the ship costs -1 SP. You may place 3 time tokens on this card, instead of disabling a tech upgrade. You do not pay a faction penalty when assigning this upgrade to a Federation ship. Tech time. Genesis effect. 5 points. Again, dual faction, Federation independent, unique. Action: discard this card. At the end of the activation phase, immediately destroy your ship to target all ships at range 1. Remove all tokens except auxiliary power tokens from beside the targeted ships. Then deal 1 critical damage to the hull of each targeted ship. If a targeted ship has an auxiliary power token beside it, deal an additional critical damage to its hull. Short-range sensors, 3-point tech, fed non-unique. When within range 1 of a planet, obstacle, or minefield, you may disable this card to scan as a free action. Each time you defend this round, roll +1 defense die. No ship can be equipped with more than 1 long-range scanner's upgrade. Away team, ? This upgrade can fill a crew or tech slot. 4 points, Federation, non-unique. Action, discard this card and move this card and up to 2 crew upgrades from this ship to a friendly ship at range 1, even if it exceeds that ship's restrictions. You may then scan or evade as a free action. No ship may be equipped with more than 1 away team upgrade. You do not pay a faction penalty when assigning this card to an independent ship. And that's the Grissom. Synergy, faction mixing, and adding crew that we didn't get in other releases. I think the Independent Reliant prize should have included the Marcuses, but since it didn't, we'll add them to this one. So let us know how she plays out, and keep thinking outside that box.
And now it's time for the Warp Core Breach Question of the Week, where we pose your questions to all of the contributors in the hopes that someone will get it right. This episode's question of the week: what weird ships would you like to see in Star Trek Attack Wing?
Well, right off the bat, one of the first ones that comes to mind, just for oddity, not anything else, would be the Husnock ship.
Ooh, yeah.
Kevin Bridge and the empty ship because he inadvertently eliminated every living Husnock in the known universe.
Whoops. The Husnock. That would be something. I don't know how you'd stat it.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one.
That would be great, though.
Yeah. Oh, some more cool ships, like Dominion can always use more. What about the Karama?
Yeah. That would be good. I would love to see the runabouts.
Yes. Oh, I'd love the runabouts.
With the ability to have the different configurations.
Yes, like the cargo modules.
Yeah. More of a science orientation, more of a combat orientation, different methods of messing with them so that they can serve different purposes in the game.
Yeah.
I would love to see the Zosha, Cassidy H. transport.
Kosa or something? I can't remember how to say it. Yeah,
I mean,
Cassidy Yates ship? Oh yeah, it's a freighter, but it's got punch.
If not as a ship, as an objective token, as a scenario piece, as something that would that you'd have to protect.
Included in game canon.
Yeah. And in that vein, the freighter that Travis serves on for like one episode in Enterprise.
Yeah, the one that Eaglemoss released one of.
Yeah.
That's a really neat one. That one would probably be another good token one. It'd be a pretty fragile model.
Oh yeah. But it did have a little bit of combat against, I think it was like a rogue Orion ship or something.
Yeah.
But something in there. And it's not just that we want to see freighters. It's, hey, these kinds of things. It would be neat to see them. How about an actual Botany Bay model?
Oh, yeah. Oh, and just to fall back, it's the Horizon.
Okay.
Yeah, that's his cargo ship.
Cool.
Oh, who wouldn't love a Botany Bay model? Like, I've got the Micro Machines, and it's really cool. But to be able to play that... granted, it wouldn't be much. Like, it's what, a colony ship? So it'd probably have, like, no weapons or anything. But, again, it would make a great part of a scenario. Like, where the Enterprise encounters the Botany Bay, and then you resurrect the crew, and it affects your ship and stuff like that. Something. It would be really neat. Cardassian freighter. Was it Ducat had one at one point, and they retrofitted it with phaser array to make it quite powerful.
Okay. It's not coming to mind, but I'm sure something like that happened.
Yeah, we had it in Star Trek CCG, and there's an upgrade for that class of freighter. Yeah.
That would certainly be cool. A Romulan shuttle like Vreenak had.
The Romulan shuttle is a must. People have been clamoring for it for ages, and I totally believe it's something that we really, really should have in this game.
Neelix's shuttle would be really cool, too.
A Captain Neelix?
That would be a perfect way to get Kess and Neelix into the game.
Yes, because we don't have either of them.
Like, I know some people don't really care about Kess or Neelix, but
I do.
They were part of a full series. They were in... Well, Neelix was in almost every episode. Kess was in half of a series. Like, that deserves cards.
Right. That's pretty significant character to leave out, Neelix. And then Kess was stronger character and around more than Seska was. Yet Seska has, what, 2 cards? A Kazon and a Fed card?
Yes.
And we don't even have a Dominion version of her yet, do we?
Don't think so.
Another ship. What about the TOS era Daedalus? The one that's similar to the Pasteur, but classic series styling?
Oh, yeah. That would be cool.
That one also it has a version named the USS Horizon. So, that'd be cool.
I would love to see actual rules for a starbase.
Yes, that would be cool.
Mostly because if they put out a starbase model, it wouldn't be as big as Deep Space Nine, but it would be really cool to have.
Yeah, it's one thing I forget. It's like the circumference of DS9, say, versus a standard starbase. Aren't the standard starbases actually much larger in that regard?
Oh, probably, but...
Yeah, based on the size of the refit Enterprise going in and out of those bay doors, that basically dwarfs most ships, like, big time. Where the Enterprise D... connected to one of the pylons of DS9, it's what, a third to half the radius? So, DS9 is not as big as a lot of people might think. But then you've got, like, Regula 1, where it's probably... it might have a similar mass, say, to DS9, but it's more condensed. It's got those platforms and that. I imagine it's not that big.
So... After doing a little bit of research, a starbase is roughly 3 times bigger in diameter than Deep Space Nine.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot different.
Oh, yeah.
So you'd have to scale it, obviously. But then again, I think a Borg cube is much, much, much bigger than Deep Space Nine, and they're the same model size.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm okay with losing accuracy here to actually get the model into the game.
Make it playable. Yeah, I was actually thinking of 3D printing just the top portion of a starbase.
Okay.
Like, I don't know whether I'd have the under part or just the top dome saucer part and just print that out, like, say, 6-inch diameter, and then plop that down in the middle of the board or off the side or somewhere. So I'd considered that possibility.
Okay, yeah.
Another ship that we haven't seen yet that would be pretty cool would be the Steam Runner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which, a little trivia, it was actually originally named the Stream Runner, but due to a typo, the R was left off, and it became the Steam Runner.
Probably for better.
Yeah, well, it was a reference to something else that was called Stream Runner. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, I like Steam Runner, and it's a cool little ship. I love my Eagle Moss, and the design is something that I think it would fit very well in the Star Trek Attack-Wing environment. Right? It's like we've got our Akira. That's a great ship. It looks really cool, and the Steam Runner would be in the similar vein with a different style.
It really would. The Vosk would be cool.
Yeah. Vosk or Voth?
Oh, Voth. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they've got a city ship, which would be, like, cover the whole map. And then they've got their, like, science and scout vessels.
Let's stick to the science and scout vessels.
Yeah. We don't want to get insane.
Just, yeah. It's the scary stuff from Voyager before the Borg.
Mm-hmm. We'd be remiss if we didn't at least give a quick mention of the future Enterprise D.
Well,
because we still want and love that puppy.
And the Enterprise C, of course.
Yes.
We can't have these conversations without bringing up those.
And a little thanks for the upcoming Enterprise B that's coming next wave.
Yes.
So hopefully it'll be a remold. I'm expecting it to be just the same standard Excelsior class model.
Yeah, me too.
But given that it's the refit version, it looks different, and I think it would have different stats, or in the very least, maybe an extra shield and different movement dial, like maybe an extra speed, so it can go a little bit further or something, or less red or a little more green on it.
That's all possible, yeah.
Yeah, like having it something other than just a standard Excelsior stat line and move would be really cool.
One would hope for what was a flagship of the fleet at the time.
Yeah. And you know what would be cool is if either the ship ability or one of the upgrades had a thing where you start the game with time tokens because it doesn't arrive till Tuesday.
Yeah. we can hope.
Yeah. A Cheyenne class would be neat.
Yeah.
TNG era 4 nacelles. Funky looking.
That would be nice and funky.
And it follows Gene Roddenberry's rule of pairs for nacelles.
Yeah.
A refit NX.
I don't know that we'll ever see that because that was not screen canon, but...
Yeah. It was made official through a number of channels. We've never officially seen it on screen, but
yeah.
I think it was Drexler who designed it. He's released a number of official images, and there's models around. So it really depends on what scope the license that WizKids holds allows them to do.
Yeah. You know, and we can sit here and say, like, you know, more Hirogen stuff is desperately needed. More Solians and etc. But this is the weird stuff we want. And
Norway class. The one that's kind of like a blunt arrowhead with the sideline nacelles.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was in First Contact. I believe.
Was it? Yeah. I think so.
I think there was one of them. You know, the same time we see the Akira.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'll buy that.
Malon Freighter?
Yes. Absolutely yes. That needs to happen. Some of the other weird stuff that maybe Voyager ran into.
How about those, the ships that the Krenim kept changing?
Oh,
they went from, like, scout ships to warships and that, and they kept shifting.
Yes.
Those would be cool.
That would be cool, because they're all different classes of ships.
Yep. And what would you call the Borg ship from Enterprise? The one that was kind of a hodgepodge of other ships that they took.
Oh, yeah. That would be a fun ship to have. I have no idea what to call it, but that would be a fun ship to have.
Yeah. And then there's the Borg probe, or whatever they call that one that's kind of like a rectangle with like beveled edges all around.
Yeah, it's the Borg probe. I think is the official name.
I'd like that one.
I guess that was in maybe the background of a Voyager episode.
No, I don't think it was in the background per se. Didn't they go on board one of those when they're going after a vinculum?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was featured prominently visually, at least, in at least one, if not two episodes. I think it was one of the ones where they were hunting the Borg.
Okay.
Whether it was for vinculum or something else.
Then that's something, it's like, hey, WizKids, don't forget about this.
Yeah.
But I think, sadly, this may all come down to they might be done printing new sculpts, and all of this might be for naught.
We can dream.
We can dream, and that's the best part of this.
Yeah.
Is we want the weird ships, and this gives us room to say, hey, if in 5 years Star Trek Attack Wing stops being made new by WizKids, what will the fans end up making?
Exactly.
It's going to be this stuff. All right. I think we're done with weird ships. Not that the ideas are ever truly done, but...
this subject will never dry up, to be perfectly honest.
No. So contributors, give us your weird ships, and then we'll be back with our final thoughts.
Hello, this is Stephen Stott with Ready to Play Gaming down in Columbia, South Carolina, here to cover today's question, which is, what weird ship would we like to see added to STAW? Well, here's my proposal. I would like to see, it's a Federation ship, actually it's a starbase. It would be Federation Starbase 1. Have an SP cost of 40, primary attack value of 5, agility 0, hull 7, shield 7, add 1 tech upgrade, 2 weapon slots upgrades, and 3 crew upgrades. The ship's ability would be an action. All friendly ships within range 1 of the starbase may repair 1 damage to their shields or hull. If they do so, place an aux token beside the repairing ship. The generic version of this starbase would be Federation Starbase SP cost 38, primary attack value 5, agility 0, hull of 7, shield 6. It would have 1 tech upgrade, 1 weapons upgrade slot, and only 2 crew upgrade slots. The ship ability would remain the same. They would be able to, as an action, repair the shields or hull of a ship within range 1 of the starbase, and that ship would have to place an aux token beside it that is getting repaired. The starbase itself would have a 360 firing arc, which would mean that it's limited to range 2 in its fire. But I think it would add a unique aspect to the game to have a starbase available to repair ships that could save, for example, when you're putting a fleet together, having to put repairing crew onto a ship itself. It can just, get within range of the starbase and dock with it and do that, or be within range 1. So that's my proposal. This is Steve Stott with Ready to Play Gaming, hoping that all your dice rolls are hits and evade.
Yeah, so since we've passed our 1-year anniversary here at Warp Core Breach, I thought I'd touch on a little bit of our Origins, which just so happened not long after Worlds at Origins. So, as that had come to a close, David had been chatting me up through Facebook and saying, hey, yeah, we've got some cool similar ideas and everything. We should get together and talk about maybe doing a project together. And which, of course, led to the podcast. Given that the shipyard and everything was already established, it was a great sort of a launching off point conceptually, because there's what we already had done, or what you already had done, and then we were talking over different things of what kind of things I could contribute, and then we got talking about other contributors to make it a community thing, and that naturally pushed us towards a podcast. Mm-hmm. So, if people had things that we would read on air for them, or if they wanted to verbally, perform it themselves or record, it was a great starting point to sort of develop and pool around our ideas, and it grew into this awesome show. And I can't thank you enough, David, for singling me out and saying, hey, we need to do something cool together.
It's been so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
Not to say that every single moment has been fun. I mean, there's been times I've been pulling hair out and going, oh, this again.
Challenges, right? But everything has that.
Everything does have it. And I mean, it's the logistical challenges of finding the right podcast hosting and then figuring out the space we need for the episodes and learning podcast editing on the fly. And I go back and listen to the first 10 episodes and I go, bad.
Remember when we used to do fake ads?
Yes.
I miss those.
Yeah, we got too many comments that it sounded like High School Drama Club. I was like, I was proud of some of those.
No kidding.
Especially the Tall Shiar recruitment.
Oh, yeah.
That one was fun for me.
Yeah, we even had Tucker do one, which was cool.
2, actually, I think.
Oh, that's right.
He came back with a follow-up one.
Yeah, it reminded me of like those Psycor commercials on Babylon 5.
Yes, it was great. You know, we've been through a lot of different growth spurts, and and so many different contributors, and that's what's made this great. Is it's truly been a pleasure to work with all the fans and the people that care, and the people that want to see this community grow and stay relevant. Because it's not enough to just sit back and play your game. We want to share. And that's been my thing. You know, I'm just a guy who loves Star Trek and loves telling people about what I know. And apparently that's been enough for people to listen.
Thank you, listeners.
Because I'm not a great voice actor. I'm not exceptionally talented or anything. I'm not a great editor by any means. I'm a guy who cares, who has time, and because of those things, I'm able to put out a product. And I've been blessed with people who share my enthusiasm, at least to some degree, who I can cajole and rope into and strap them down and make them contribute every so often. But it works.
Yeah.
And it's come together to be something that's really, truly a lot of fun, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. And it's something, whenever we stop doing Warp Core Breach, which I don't know when that'll be, but it will happen at some point.
Right. You know, whether we kick the bucket or evolve to something different or life takes us in a different direction, right?
Yeah, all good things must come to an end. That's just the reality of things. Whenever that happens, I think we'll look back on this, I know I will, and say, you know what? That was a lot of fun. It was a lot of time. It was a lot of stress. It was a lot of late nights. It was a lot of effort, but it was a lot of fun.
And well worth it.
And so well worth it.
I
mean, I talk to my friends who know nothing about Star Trek Attack Wing. And these are friends that aren't even in the area, so I don't have the opportunity to show them the game. But I tell them our numbers. You know, when we hit 10,000 lifetime downloads, within less than a year, they were like, you what? You 10,000 in under a year? You have 1,000 downloads a month on average? I'm like, yeah. They're like, what? That's abnormal for small scale podcasts. You guys have made this a pretty good success. I have other people I know who do podcasts, and they're lucky to get 50 downloads. I look at an episode that gets 150 and I go, what happened there? And that's a blessing. And it's not just about the numbers. I know that the numbers mean people, but I also know that it's people who are taking the time to listen. And that's what matters.
Yeah, it's not like a 5-10 minute investment or anything. Like, our shows go, between like 40 minutes and an hour and a half?
The last time we put out a 40-minute episode, I think, was our Squirrels episode. And that may be the only 40-minute episode. I think our average is about 70 minutes. Our short is probably 60.
So an hour and a quarter.
Yeah, to an hour and a half, and I think our long is at 2 hours.
Wow.
So, they happen.
Yeah. So yeah, my point there is it's not something that you can just quickly pop in your mouth and be on your way. It's not a little tidbit snack. This is something that you have to invest your time in to listen to the entire show. And for you to take that time out of your busy life to just sit and listen to us gab on about what we love, that's awesome. And whether you've got nothing better to do because you're stuck in a car going through traffic in your commute, or if you're sitting on your couch or on the beach or whatever, it's still, you're choosing us over something else that you could be doing. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Nick, just imagine the places we've been that we don't actually know we've been.
Yeah. You've taken us around the world.
Yeah, people take us all over the world, and we don't even have to have a passport to go.
Do you remember that thing where somebody stole that garden gnome and then took it around the world and took pictures, sending pictures back to the owner until eventually returning the gnome?
Yes, I do actually remember that. That's fantastic to be reminded of.
Oh, that's awesome. If I ever do a world tour of any kind, I should do something like that. I might not take it to like theft. I'll say like, hey, I'll pick this up at a store, buy something, or ask them like, hey, do you mind if I take that around the world with me?
You know what would actually be really cool? Get something Star Trek Attack Wing related and start mailing it around the world.
You just start a chain letter or chain parcel or something like, okay, here's something, I'm going to send it to you, so take a picture.
Yeah. Like, take it to a local landmark or your OP or something and take a picture of it, and then here's the next mailing address.
Yeah, and sign on to the website, post your picture, and retrieve the next address. Yeah. People can sign up to be recipients, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And maybe we even need two of them. Have like a North American one and then an international one.
Yeah, because it could fly around North America a lot faster than around the world, so we have regular updates.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an idea, and I think this is something that we should do, but we really should hear from you folks. So for those of you listening, if you like this idea, mention it. Tell us on Facebook or send us an email. Let us know that you think this is a cool idea, and maybe even suggest that you be one of our first recipients.
Tell us what should be sent around.
Right? Like, I can 3D print some things, or we can kit bash something, or we can use something from the existing game. But give us some ideas. Let's spark the juices, make them flow. Okay, that was a weird configuration of words.
Yes, a little too weird.
Hey, nothing's too weird for this show.
Warp core breach in 10.
I'm sure something.
9.
Alrighty.
8.
But yes,
7,
I think that's the best note
6,
we can end on.
5,
So,
4.
Until next time.
This is Nick.
3.
And this is David.
2.
Ejecting the
1.
core.
Warp core ejected.
Warp Core Breach is produced by Nick Norris and David Montgomery, with additional content from our contributors. Our computer is voiced by Corinne Donnelly.
Warp Core Breach is not endorsed, sponsored, or affiliated with CBS Studios Incorporated or the Star Trek franchise. All Star Trek trademarks and logos are owned by CBS Studios Incorporated.
All sound files are used under Creative Commons 3.0 by attribution. For specifics, please visit our Facebook page by searching Warp Core Breach Podcast. If you want to contribute to the show, let us know on the Facebook page, or you can email us at warpcorebreachpodcast@gmail.com.